आज शायद बहुत सारे लोग सरप्राइज हो रहे होंगे, बहुत दिनों बाद ये वीडियो आ रहा है गाइस यूट्यूब में, एंड फाइनली इतने दिनों बाद कहीं ना कहीं इस वीडियो को हम यूट्यूब में डालने में सक्सेसफुल हुए हैं। सो चलो थोड़ा आगे बढ़ते हैं वीडियो की तरफ। सो हेलो एवरीबॉडी, हाउ आर यू डूइंग गाइस? होप यू डूइंग ग्रेट इन योर लाइफ। So guys, in this video, I've interacted with Vasu Sharma, who is a 4th year student from College of Engineering Pune, and finally, अब उनकी प्लेसमेंट हो चुकी है गूगल में। Guys, I know गूगल बहुत सारे जितने भी CSE के स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं, इंजीनियरिंग स्टूडेंट्स का कहीं ना कहीं वो ड्रीम कंपनी होता है, और उस कंपनी में जब भी किसी की प्लेसमेंट होती है तो यार वो कोई नॉर्मल बंदा नहीं होता। ऑब्वियसली मेहनत लगती है उसमें और डेडिकेशन लगता है, एंड उन्हीं सारे उनकी पूरी जर्नी, उनकी कोडिंग जर्नी, किस तरीके से उन्होंने कॉलेज में सारी चीज़ों को कोप अप किया, बहुत सारे एक्टिविटीज़ में वो हमेशा इन्वॉल्व रहते थे, तो उन सारे चीज़ों को किस तरह उन्होंने मैनेज किया, इन सब चीज़ों के बारे में आज जानेंगे हम इस वीडियो पे। तो अगर आप पहली बार इस चैनल को विजिट कर रहे हैं, इससे पहले भी यार हमने बहुत सारे वीडियोस बनाए, कॉलेज का प्लेलिस्ट है, इसके अलावा भी हमने एक टॉक्स पे एक अलग सा एक प्लेलिस्ट बना रखा है, जहाँ पे इससे पहले भी हमने गेट के टॉपिक के साथ इंटरेक्ट किया और जाना उनका गेट का एक्सपीरियंस। तो इन सारे वीडियो को अगर आप एक्सप्लोर करना चाहते हैं, आप इन दोनों प्लेलिस्ट को चेकआउट कर सकते हो। एंड इफ यू रियली लाइक दोस वीडियोस गाइस, प्लीज डू हिट दोस लाइक बटन हार्ड, एंड इसी के साथ प्लीज डू शेयर विद योर फ्रेंड्स, एंड अगर आपको ये सारे कंटेंट पसंद आए, प्लीज डू कंसीडर सब्सक्राइबिंग माय चैनल एज वेल। सो लेट्स मूव अहेड टुवर्ड्स दिस वीडियो।
सो भैया, जैसे गूगल बहुत सारे सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर्स, लाइक बहुत सारे CSE ग्रेड्स का एक ड्रीम कंपनी होता है कि गूगल जैसे कंपनी में काम करना। सो जब आपको ये ऑफर मिला, सो हाउ डिड यू फील व्हेन यू रिसीव द ऑर्डर फ्रॉम गूगल?
So I mean, the feeling was surreal. So it was like a dream come true.
Yeah.
So when I started coding, my coding journey, so one of my dreams was to get in one of the FANG companies. And when I got into Google, it was absolutely like an amazing feeling. So I still remember I had my exam the next day and I couldn't study because of the joy. And it almost came after 2 months of rigorous interviews. So I mean, the feeling was great. Can't express in words.
That was really nice. Like I know you from the first day itself. Like आप बस कोडिंग या फिर बस स्टडीज में भी नहीं था, आपने बहुत सारे और एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज को आपने एक्सप्लोर किया. Like how did you able to manage so many things, extracurricular activities and all coding stuff together so well?
I think, I mean, the time management is like very crucial when it comes to like doing a lot of things. So I had, so particularly like luckily I went on the right path, I would say. Right from the first year, like I was in a lot of clubs from college. So from time to time I got very good projects from the club side, due to which I got engaged in some good projects, and I got engaged with some nice people, some nice interactions, and got to learn a lot of new things. And I would say that I mean, proper guidance is also necessary. I mean, when it comes to like doing a lot of things. So from development side, I was able to achieve more because of the clubs only, and because of some personal passion as well. Right from the first year, I was like deep into developing new things and exploring all the new tech stacks. So all doing that, and I mean, for the question that you asked, like managing a lot of things, I would say, I mean, keeping a track of every hour of your life. When you're able to like track, I mean, when you're able to track every hour of the day, I mean, where are you spending that? You're able to achieve a lot of good things, I mean, in the whole day. So yeah, I mean, keeping track of the time makes all the difference. I would say.
And like also I want to add, like friends का, अच्छे friends को भी होना बहुत जरूरी है इसमें. Like वो friends जो coding की और ज्यादा oriented है, then you also feel like हाँ मुझे भी वो करना चाहिए, friends वो करें तो peer group का. Yeah, so third question ये रहेगा, like how long you have been coding? Like क्या आपने class 12, 11 से start की या फिर college के first year के onwards you have started coding?
I would say like my base was right from the 11, 12 standard. I got introduced to C++ and a lot of logic building stuff there, but I couldn't like devote a lot of my time there because of JEE preparation and other things. Particularly speaking, like right from the first year, I went deep into the coding side. I mean, apart from the curriculum stuff, I experimented with a lot of things on and off the college side, exploring new technologies. I mean, whatever excited me, web development or machine learning and all, parallelly doing that with the college. That was my part. I mean, it was, I mean, the passion-driven kind of thing, not necessarily, I mean, the curriculum side, but my own desire to learn things.
That was really great. Like, what all resources you have been followed from your first year onwards?
Particularly I would say, for coding side, for competitive coding or like for learning data structures or algorithms, I particularly followed hacker rank or lead code. In between, I also like jumbled across code chef or code forces in between. But yeah, like didn't spend a lot of time on that. Apart from that, I mean web development and all, you get a lot of resources online. So I mean, not a particular dedicated resource because for that, but I mean, learning with the projects was always a key thing for me. Whenever I learned a new technology, I always try to implement that in one of my projects, whether it was like an Android app or web development project. So I always try to implement that, and I mean, learning new things with development was always my goal to things, and that also helps to absorb things well, and as well as you have a good project on the board. So I mean, that was the thing.
So अगर आज कोई start कर रहा है, so बहुत सारे audience होंगे, those who want to start coding right from today, then what all resources will you recommend them कि यहाँ से आप start कर सकते हो, you can start your journey from here?
So for coding specifically, I would say, I mean, if someone, I mean, that depends upon, like, if someone wants specifically to get into, say, competitive coding or say completely algorithm style coding, so I would say, I mean, just picking up one language and sticking to that, say C++ or Python or Java or whatever. I mean, learning the basics of that language and then applying the concepts or the algorithms that you have learned in that language. So it can be like, I mean, it all takes a lot of practice in the end. So it's like going on, say, random platforms, or like say you're going to hack a rank or say lead code and just start solving your problems. I mean, it's all about development of interest. So once your interest develops in a particular sector, you will go on and check out the new problems daily, and in that sector, your interest will develop. So it's just about like picking one language, sticking to that, and just going deep into that with taking to that language. So solving more and more problems with that, and just, I mean, developing passion for that. And I mean, for coding, I mean, if I would say about development or some other sector, that's about, I mean, all about projects. So I mean, there are a lot of documentations available online about a lot of resources, a lot of YouTube videos. But as long as you don't develop the things yourself, you don't make the projects, that won't make a difference. I mean, that won't add to your knowledge. So anyone who's like going to start with development, I would say, I mean, whenever you learn a new technology, just make sure that you implement that in some project so that it stays with you throughout the life. So I mean, going with the flow and developing passion is the key, and that's what drives yourself.
Have you referred any particular YouTube channel for this, for coding?
Not necessarily. So in my side, I mean, going by my journey, at that time, I mean, the YouTube, learning by YouTube, I mean, was not so popular, I would say.
After the lockdown, whole the scenario has changed.
So all these sheets of like LoveBurber or Strive, they were not so popular. So I referred those sheets in my, I mean, the before placements to just, I mean, to go through the problems. I mean, what are problems I have covered by my problem solving journey. I just referred those and check marked and solved those which I hadn't covered, but not specifically like following a particular channel. But yeah, like in between, when I solved some questions of the Geeks for Geeks or something, so I would refer to the YouTube channel for the explanations and all. I mean, going to random YouTube channels with some random problems was always the key for me. I mean, for targeting the problems, but not following a specific one as of now.
Like whatever you have said, right, it's basically for those, like for the first or second year, those who want to start coding right from that particular year. But is this valid for fourth year students or third year students, those who want to start now? Then what should they follow? Like for them, I guess कि अभी सारे codes के through जाना, इतने सारे codes, I guess इतने सारे question को solve करना possible नहीं है. So if someone like from the third or fourth year itself, they want to start coding right from now, then what should they follow? What resources they should follow?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, first of all, the first step remains the same. You should know language to be certain, I mean, to be able to code properly then. So just first step would be to make a grip on some language, say C++ or Python or Java, the same thing. I mean, the difference, I don't think, I mean, the difference only comes in the time then. So the first years, when they are starting out, they have a lot of time before their placements or the college internships. But I mean, for the fourth years or third years, they don't get a lot of time. Then I don't have a specific advice, but I would say, I mean, focusing on some important topics or the topics which are most relevant to the interview, I mean, that could help. But still, I mean, if someone wants to get a lot of, I mean, a good flow in the problem solving, I mean, the practice, there is no alternative to that. So just picking up one language and just keep on practicing that to the point. I mean, wherever you can. I mean, the one day. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, whenever you start, if someone practices that hard, it will ultimately reach to that level. So yeah.
So
I mean, the difference is only about time, but practice it has to be done. I mean, yeah.
सो यही बात है दोस्तों जो आज वीडियो देख रहे हैं, लाइक जो फर्स्ट और सेकंड ईयर में है शायद आपके पास बहुत टाइम होगा, थर्ड फोर्थ ईयर के लिए शायद उतना नहीं है, तो उसके अकॉर्डिंग आप प्रिपेयर कर सकते हो. सो नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन होगा, व्हाट आर थॉट्स ऑन कॉम्पिटिटिव वर्सेस डेवलपमेंट. लाइक बहुत सारे यूट्यूबर्स ने बहुत ज्यादा हाइप किया इस चीज को कि कॉम्पिटिटिव कर लो हो जाएगा, डेवलपमेंट में कुछ करो तो हो जाएगा. सो व्हाट आर योर थॉट्स ऑन दिस, लाइक क्या इक्वल बैलेंस रखना चाहिए और शुड वी लाइक फोकस मोर ऑन कॉम्पिटिटिव और ऑन डेवलपमेंट?
For my personal opinion, I would say, I mean, keeping a balance would be a good option because definitely when you do competitive programming, your mentality, I mean, your problem solving skills rise to a great level. And the way you tackle the problem, I mean, in a fraction of seconds, that surely helps in development also. So right now, from my personal experience, I'm telling that, I mean, the work in the software sector, I mean, it's mostly about development side, a lot of other things, a lot of mechanical works comes on top of the just the competitive coding part. There's a lot of like, I mean, automating a lot of stuff, developing websites or tools or internal applications or Android apps or something. I mean, that part also, I mean, has a very good, I would say, a very good weightage or weightage in the software development jobs, in day-to-day jobs. But if someone has done a lot of competitive programming, whenever, I mean, it comes to develop some new approach or some new algorithm or something sort of new to optimize the code a bit. Someone with good algorithmics and good competitive programming skills to be able to solve and quickly reach the problems, solution of the problem very quickly. That surely helps a lot. So, I mean, it's all about, say, sport. So your intellect rises to a great level. So you're able to think well. I mean, it's like brushing up your mind again and again, practicing a lot of problems. That surely raises your mental level. So, I mean, it may not be applicable daily in your day-to-day development job, but still when it comes to some specialized sectors or some optimizing some special things, I mean, where time complexity matters a lot, and it's not like you don't use data structures and all in your day-to-day jobs, but just that great, I mean, the in-depth knowledge you gain after doing after solving a lot of problems and after solving a lot of competitive programming questions. That in-depth knowledge really helps when you like develop some new things there. So it's all about, I mean, balance would surely be necessary because a major chunk in your day-to-day job is like development only. But competitive programming surely gives you a mental edge there to be able to think more quickly and to be able to optimize things well.
So like, how much competitive coding does it require to crack Google according to you? Like, बहुतों के लिए बहुत differ करता होगा, but according to you, how much?
I mean, not specifically speaking about competitive programming. So I mean, there are two things. So either you can do, I mean, solve a lot of problems on DSA or like data structures or algorithms. You can do that, or you can go specifically into competitive programming. I mean, with timed contests and a lot of, I mean, competitive programming is kind of sport. So you can either like indulge in the sport kind of thing where you solve a lot of questions in a timed manner. So or you can practice a lot of DSA problems. So for me personally, I solved a lot of data structures and algorithm problems to be able to get better at that. But for someone starting out, I would say, I mean, if someone does competitive programming, that surely makes him a better problem solver because he's like able to think. I mean, he knows a lot of more algorithms, a lot of optimization techniques, and he surely gets better at problem solving. So for me personally, I didn't do a lot of competitive programming, but I focused, I mean, more on problem solving and solving a lot of data structure and algorithm questions. But yeah, I mean, for personally, I would also think that if I had done a lot of competitive programming, that would have helped me in the problem solving side also. I mean, the standard DSA problems also. So I mean, yeah, if you're able to solve problems well in time, maybe not specifically like competitive programming, but if you're able to solve problems well. Standard DSA problems, all the algorithms, you know, all the data structures, you know, that, I mean, that does the job.
लाइक ओवरऑल दोस्तों यहाँ पे यही है कि कॉम्पिटिटिव प्रोग्रामिंग से आपको डेफिनेटली एक एज मिलता है हर एक इंटरव्यू में, बट इट्स डिपेंड्स अपॉन यू। अगर आप ज़्यादा DSA सॉल्व कर रहे हैं, वैसे क्वेश्चन लगा रहे हैं, तो उससे भी फायदा आपको जरूर मिलेगा। एंड नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन वुड बी, अब थोड़ा हम गूगल इंटरव्यू की तरफ आते हैं। सो हाउ मेनी राउंड्स वर देयर इन टोटल एंड व्हाट काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चन कैन यू एक्सपेक्ट? हर एक राउंड्स के अगर आप क्वेश्चंस बताएं तो हम सारे क्वेश्चंस का आपको लिंक दे देंगे इफ पॉसिबल। तो चलिए।
I would say, I mean, I interviewed for 2 positions at Google, for application engineer as well as for software engineering position. So for application engineering rounds, I had 1 aptitude test followed by 3 technical interviews, and for software engineering position, I had 5 interviews, supposed to be 5 interviews. So for application engineer, all the interviews were, I mean, a mixture of system design questions and DSA questions. So I cannot speak specifically about all the questions which were asked. But I can surely, I mean, tell you about what were the focus areas. So they focused mainly on graphs and trees. A lot of questions. I mean, I had like 3 interviews. In all 3 interviews, there was 1 question on graphs or trees. I mean, for sure. And other than that, they also focused on questions on dynamic programming, then strings. Some of the questions were also on like object-oriented programming. I mean, so just design skills, how I design a particular problem. And they also introduced some new data structures also in the way, which I hadn't heard of. And they said to like design on the way and then solve questions on basis of that. I mean, it was a mixture of, I would say, algorithm questions as well as system design questions. For system design, I would say, I mean, just designing I mean, they give some problem statement and you just design the whole of the system from low level design, right, from SQL queries to all the high level components like all the non-functional parts as well. I mean, Kubernetes and all the serviceability or how all the scalability questions and all the other things, covering all the aspects. I mean, the question. I mean, they were also like 1 or 2 HR questions in between, but they didn't take a dedicated interview for HR, for human resource HR rounds. They just had 1 or 2 questions in between in every interview, and that was for application engineer. For software engineering round, there were supposed to be 5 interviews. I mean, my profile was accelerated for software engineering role, but unfortunately, I couldn't go beyond 3 of them. So, I mean, the questions were relatively hard when it comes to software engineering round. The target areas were graphs and trees only. I was mainly asked on the graph questions. So the questions were hard. I mean, if someone has solved quick start problems, there was, I mean, not that complexity. I would say a lot of test cases, but the problem statement or the formulation of problem statement as well as, I mean, the structure was similar to kind of kickstart. It's kind of scary, but still not so easy to, I mean, to go in the I mean, if you compare that with the AE rounds or application engineering rounds, the questions were a bit leveled up. But I mean, the topics remained same: the graphs and the trees. And again, like 1 or 2 data structures which I hadn't heard of even. They introduced that, and I mean, first I had to code the data structure and then solve problems on basis of that. So yeah, a mixture of, I would say, in application engineering rounds they also focus on system design, but in software engineering rounds they just focus on algorithms. Just two questions of algorithms or data structures in 1 hour or 45 minutes. Depends on like.
उसमें से क्या आपको कोई भी repeated question थे जो already किसी website में था and you get the same one?
I would say no. The repeated questions, I don't say. I mean, I wouldn't say the questions were repeated, but certainly the concepts were nearly same. So, like if you have like say graph-based question, so depth first search or breadth first search, kind of the same pattern, but not a fixed question taken directly from a website. I mean, some of the questions from the interviews were the own creations, I would say. One of the interviews, I later learned that he had researched on some very deep algorithm-based search pattern on the strings, and he asked me questions based on that. So I would say, I mean, they form the own questions sometimes. Yeah.
So sometimes it's very tough. अगर आपको repeated questions बहुत कम दिखते हैं, it's just कि आपकी जितनी clarity रहेगी सारे algorithms के through, वो आपको बहुत ज़्यादा edge दे जाएंगे. Okay, so सारे rounds जो आपके गए, so how will you rate all these questions like on a scale of 1 to 10? अगर हर एक round को आपको बताना हो तो पहला round आपका कितना tough था, second कितना था, third कितना था?
So for application engineering rounds, I would say the first round was a lot of focus was on system design. So they asked me a lot of questions on high level design as well as some low level design, designing SQL queries as well. Just one question on say algorithms, and that was pretty simple to do. But the system design question was pretty, I mean, a leveled up or hard one, because that was the first time I was attempting a system design interview, and I would say, I mean, that was like 7 or 8 level out of 10. The system design. The second interview was majorly focused on algorithms. So the question was on graphs. So that was a mixture of, there were some questions at the end on system on design perspective as well. Where the interview went deep into SQL queries or transactions. A lot of questions on SQL. The SQL questions I would rate say 7 to 8, and again like the algorithm question here again 8 or 9, 8 to 9 level, because given the time frame, the time limit was very less to to code as well as to explain the solution. So that takes the level to 8 or 8 to 9 for the algorithmic question. And for the third round as well, third round was the interviewer asked a lot of questions to me, and for every question very less time was given. Some of the questions were very easy to guess and pretty easy to code even, maybe 5 or 6 level, but some of the questions were like the dynamic programming and all, to code that within few minutes. I would say the level was 8 to 9. And if you speak about software engineering role, I would say the questions were certainly above 8 or 9 level, or they were tough actually. Yeah, couldn't go beyond 3, so tough for me. Yeah.
Okay, like apart from coding, you've been involved in many extracurricular activities. You've been a secretary of an SDS club as well in CRP. So what all activities do you do in your free times apart from coding studies and all?
I would say I travel a lot, so I love traveling. So whenever I get free time, maybe it's like exploring the city or exploring outskirts of city or going outside with friends. That's really like my favorite time to spend apart from the coding or apart from the study stuff. So yeah, maybe watching a few web series or some time if I get time. But yeah, my first priority is always like traveling and exploring the places.
It's just about time management, like you manage all these things together. Like it's a huge myth among all of us, like Google में जाना तो हर समय coding ही करना. It's not like that. Like
truly.
time निकाल सकते हो हर एक चीज के लिए. Yeah. So the last question would be like, अगर if a freshman is starting right from now, he wants to start coding. So what advice would you want to give to him if he wants to start?
Okay, so I would say the consistency would be the key. Again, like if you solve 1 or 2 problems in a day, that's fine. Just keep the thing going, because if by the end of the year you would have like solved a lot of problems, and it's all about practicing hard. Because it all depends upon like the role which you're applying. But if a company or some company always asks some problem solving questions, then practice is there's an alternative to that. So if you solve just 1 problem a day, just keep on going through that. Just don't stop the streak of problem solving. And like one day you will have covered all the topics, and practicing surely gives your own confidence as well. So that would be the key. Other than that, just develop some personal interest in like making projects, learn new things every day. Something or other thing, and a new framework or new technology is coming up. So just spare some time for that as well. That surely it also does. Keeps you going, because solving. Devoting 100% of your time on the problem solving doesn't keep you going. The interest shatters at one time. But doing development and actually seeing the results come and making some apps or something. For personally, it worked for me best. Whenever I got exhausted from a lot of problem solving or other things, I just out of curiosity or out of my own passion, I just learned some new technology and developed some application or some project on that. So it's all about that. Keep on practicing every day, and in between, if you want to take breaks, just explore some new technologies. Keep on reading some blogs and all. It just keeps you going. Yes.
Like for a first year student, like abhi uske paas bahut saara time hai. But what about a second year or a third year student if he wants to start now?
The same advice. It won't change. The practice. It doesn't matter for second year or third year. The practice would surely be needed. It's just that if you have some less time, you will do some focused practice. Just the same thing. Solving the DSA sheet or something. If you have some less time, you will just 2-3 months of time, you will surely focus on that sheet, because that sheet covers a lot of questions, and that's a good starting point then. But if you have a lot of time, just begin in a structured manner, topic by topic. It's just that difference that if you start early, you have a lot of time. You can go in a structured manner. You can go on solving some weekly contests, as well as keep your own journey going, topic by topic, and keep on developing some good projects. And if someone has less time, say second or third year, and very near to placements, you can keep your focused goal on say solving these many problems that cover all the concepts. Because eventually, if you have some concepts in mind, you can surely apply that. Maybe, regardless, if you haven't practiced even, but if you have some good concepts, all the concepts covered, you can surely apply that in the interview if time comes, and you can apply that. So, it's all about like time management, and then going in a structured manner versus in a focused manner if you have some less time.
And same applies for the 4th year students.
Yeah,
those
as
who
well,
want to
yeah.
start now.
Yes.
ओके भैया, फिर जाते जाते ये बता जाओ कि आपका गूगल में कितनी की पैकेज मिली है.
I don't think so.
Okay. So thank you so much भैया for taking your time out and giving such a lovely interaction with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
आई होप इस वीडियो से आपको बहुत कुछ सीखने का मौका मिला, बहुत एक इंस्पिरेशनल जर्नी थी उनकी, एंड आई होप आप भी इस वीडियो से कुछ ना कुछ सीख पाए हैं. एंड अगर आपको ये वीडियो पसंद आ रहा है गाइस, एंड यू स्टिल वाचिंग दिस वीडियो, दैट मीन्स यार आपको ज्यादा ही पसंद आ चुका है. तो उस केस में प्लीज डू शेयर विद योर फ्रेंड्स एज वेल. इस वीडियो को फैलाओ यार, जितने ज्यादा आप इस वीडियो को शेयर कर सकते हो उतना ज्यादा आप शेयर करो. बहुत दिनों बाद इस वीडियो को डाल रहा हूँ, तो हो सकता है कि यूट्यूब का एल्गो ज्यादा इस वीडियो को सपोर्ट ना करे, तो उसकी जिम्मेदारी आज कहीं ना कहीं मैं आपको देता हूँ गाइस. जो भी इस वीडियो को देख रहे हो, प्लीज डू शेयर विद योर फ्रेंड्स अगर आपको ये वीडियो कहीं ना कहीं पसंद आता है. और इसके साथ ऑब्वियसली लाइक, शेयर, सब्सक्राइब शायद ये आपको आ रहा होगा स्क्रीन पे, तो वो भी करते हुए जाना. तो चलो फिर मिलते हैं अगली वीडियो पे. सो तब तक आप कुछ ना कुछ तो कर ही देना यार. सो दिस इज सुरजीत दास साइनिंग ऑफ एंड सी यू.